Samsung's M series smartphones have been quite popular in the budget segment. Although they're not very performance-centric, they do have qualities of their own that make it different and, well, desirable. Today I have the Galaxy M31 with me, which is probably the most hyped mid-range Samsung phone of this year. I have been using this phone for around 2 weeks now, and one thing I definitely have to say about it is that its battery does not die easily. And what else? Yes, the phone, except for its camera setup, is very identical to the cheaper M21. So, is it worth it buying the M31 over the M21? Well, I will answer that question in this review. And like I mentioned in my previous video, during this lockdown, I have been shooting videos on my own while my video team is quarantining at home. So if you guys feel like rewarding my efforts to bring out reviews for you guys, do not forget to hit that subscribe button and share our content. Okay, design-wise, like I said in the M21 review, the M series do not make it to the list of the most attractive. On top of that, the design of this one is strikingly similar to the M21, except that the M31 is a little bit heavier. Just like the M21, the back is plastic and the frames are plastic too. That being said, the looks of the Galaxy M21, which I reviewed recently, did not bother me at all. Well, because it comes for a cheaper price. But when you're moving higher in the price range, just like with the M31, we expect some changes in the design, some improvements to be precise, which seems lacking in the M31. For instance, we still have that rear-mounted fingerprint scanner when most of the others in a similar price have gone for either in-display ones or side-mounted ones. In comparison, the Poco X2 looks and feels so much better and modern even. What also makes the M31 look like an older generation phone is the U-shaped notch, or the Infinity U notch that Samsung likes to call it. Maybe they could have implemented a punch hole like the M40, which would have looked better. I say this because the Galaxy M31 is very similar to the M21 and last year's Galaxy M30s. So if they could just have changed the design and the build material a little bit, there would have been some kind of differentiation among the products. Having said that, except for the U-shaped notch, everything else about the M31's display is awesome. First thing, not many brands give an AMOLED display for this price, that too of this quality, so applause to Samsung for that. It's not a higher refresh rate display though, but I guess the trade-off is fine for the price. If you are someone who is more into watching YouTube videos or other video streaming platforms, the M31 would be a better choice in terms of display quality than, say, the Poco X2 or the Realme 6 Pro. Talking more in depth about the display, it has amazing contrast, colors, and brightness. Plus, this one's Widevine L1 certified as well, so that's a good thing too. Also, because the screen is an AMOLED one, always on display is something you can take advantage of. For protection, you get the older generation Gorilla Glass 3. I would certainly like to have a relatively newer generation of glass protection, but since it's not the case here, I guess it's okay. Okay, now let's talk about performance, which, disclaimer, I am not a fan of. I don't know if Samsung had a truckload of Exynos 9611 and they wanted to finish it off in 2020, but seeing the same chipset in almost every budget and mid-range Samsung phone has become rather frustrating. And I would not have complained if it was an excellent performing chip, but its performance is average, I would say, especially when compared to its contemporary rivals like the Poco X2 and the Realme 6 Pro. Now, talking about how the M31 performs in real life, its normal performance is okay. I mean, you're not going to feel lags while doing daily tasks. Multitasking is fine too, especially when you have light apps opened. The phone does find it a little difficult to manage heavy multitasking though. Talking of gaming performance, it will give you a respectable 35 FPS when you are maintaining a high graphic profile and HD settings in games like PUBG. Anything more than that will result in a laggy experience. But if you really want to push it further, you have the option to play at ultra frame rate with HDR graphics, but the FPS is going to be very low. In comparison, it's no surprise that the Poco X2 or the Realme 6 Pro performs much better. Other aspects of the phone's performance though is satisfactory, which is all thanks to the base 6GB of RAM it has. And the Android 10 based One UI 2.0 helps make the experience better. Navigating through the phone is swift, so that means the optimization is done well here, unlike what we saw with the One UI 1.0. Talking of updates, many people have complained about the M31 bricking because of the latest update it got. I, on the other hand, have not been able to check what it exactly is because I have not received the update in my region, but once I do, I will make sure to inform you guys. Okay, now let's talk about the one difference there is between the M21 and the M31. Yes, you guessed it right, it's the cameras. And since it was hyped quite a lot by some top reviewers before launch, I was very eager to test the cameras of it. Here in the M31, you get a quad camera setup that consists of a primary 64 megapixel Samsung GW1 sensor, an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle sensor, a 5 megapixel depth sensing camera, and the last one is a 5 megapixel macro lens. Like always, let's get down with the macro images first. Well, they're nothing extraordinary, although I got a few good shots when the lighting was proper. But I'll say it again, I have never valued the presence of macro sensors in smartphones, and I find it gimmicky rather than useful. Now, what I like about Samsung is that their 5 megapixel depth sensor is a good one. Subject focus on the portrait images is good and the background looks adequately blurred. Also, HDR in portrait images works well here, actually better than the Poco X2. The primary images from the M31 look good too. The colors on them are punchy and pleasing, so you can be sure that if you get this phone, you are going to get good pictures from it. Talking more about the images, they have quite good details in them, but when I compared it against the Poco X2, I found Poco's images to be sharper. The HDR function, however, is a hit or a miss on both the phones. Sometimes Poco X2 does it better and the other times M31 does it better. In the color aspect, I like the M31 more, especially in pictures of the skies. For the selfies, I have to vote for Samsung as it is evidently better. Xiaomi always has a weird filter sort of thing in selfies which does not look very good. Samsung, on the other hand, makes the skin color look nice. Portrait selfies on the M31, however, lack proper edge detection and are okay-ish only. You get slow-mo, super steady mode, etc. in the cameras like you get in most of Samsung's offerings. And if you are a TikTok user, you can use the slow-mo video feature for selfies and make your videos more interesting. Talking about nighttime images, normal nighttime images have a lot of muddiness in them. So I suggest you take nighttime pictures from the night mode itself. When you do that, you will notice that the night mode crops your pictures a little bit. Why that happens is because in the night mode, the camera takes 5 to 6 images in different exposures and merges them. The edges don't always look proper while doing that, so the software crops the picture. Honestly, I didn't know this before, but one of our viewers commented regarding this on our A71 review, so a big shout out to him for letting us know. Video-wise, as the standard Samsung mid-range tradition goes, you get options for 4K and FHD at 30 FPS, among which videos at FHD are only stabilized. But if you vlog, I suggest you use a gimbal and shoot in UHD. Talking of quality, the videos have good dynamic range and colors just like the photos. Now, after testing the cameras of the Galaxy M31 for a while now, what I found is that the cameras are a bit overhyped. Not that they're not good, they are one of the best for the price, but definitely not the best of the breed to match the hype that Samsung's marketing team initially concocted about it. But what's here to actually hype about is its impressive battery life. The 6000 mAh battery it has easily makes it a 2-day battery phone on normal to medium usage. On heavy usage too, you can get through a day easily with some juice left to keep the device running for a few hours the next day. But what's painful is the charging, as it took me exactly 2 hours and 18 minutes to get the device charged from 0 to 100%. So this is definitely a phone that you should be charging overnight, which is painful because other brands give you much faster charging and for the exact same price. So I think Samsung should have given a 25-watt charging instead, but maybe it's the chipset limitation as well. Moving to other aspects, audio on this thing is good. The single speaker at the bottom is loud and not distorted at high volumes, and the experience with headphones is quite good too. You get Face Unlock as an optional biometric security option, which is fast like the fingerprint sensor. Call quality is good over mobile networks and over VoIP apps, so that's nice as well. So the question still remains, should you get the M31 chipping in more money when you can basically get the similar specs at a much lower price with the M21? Well, like I said in the M21 review, with this you get a bit of everything. But with the M31, you get a little bit more in the form of better performing cameras. So that is basically why Samsung is charging more money for the M31 when compared to the M21. However, if you look at the competitors, they're offering better designs than the M31 and most importantly, better performance. And I think with the M31, Samsung could have done so much more, but they only chose to update the camera part, which makes me feel like the M31 is just an incremental upgrade to the Galaxy M30s. So that was our review of the Samsung Galaxy M31. Do let us know if you would choose the M31 over the Poco X2 or the Realme 6 Pro in the comments below. And like I say always, make sure to take all the necessary precautions to keep yourselves and your loved ones safe from the ongoing pandemic. Till then, I'm Pratima Adhikari. Stay indoors and stay safe.